I don't know, after the last fiasco.
All right, so listen here.
I don't know if that's even real.
The budget,
Knock that off,
everybody,
Bobby. Let
As a
him
matter of
talk.
fact, Lisa printed this for me.
okay,
so.
now listen.
They're just bitching.
None of us sitting here, past and present, future, want to increase taxes. We don't. None of us
Right.
want that. But we have to be real, man. You know, I mean, you take a look what's going on in the economy, as Maggie's alluded to in the past many times. It's not all perfect. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on. And we have costs that are escalating ridiculously that we have no control over. And in order to keep up the services that we want to provide our residents, there's going to be a necessary factor in there at times where we're going to have to raise. There was a lot of factors that came into play. I'm not going to bring all this stuff, we'll be here till midnight again, about why we got to the point where taxes weren't raised and who knows what went on, because there was a lot of shenanigans going on for a while with the group, as far as I'm concerned. But the economy then took a dip. So when the economy took a dip, this city tried, from what I saw, I wasn't part of it at that time, but from what I saw was trying to keep people working, trying to keep the residents happy without raising taxes and raising rates, and doing something that was going to be very, very positive, proactive, and respectable in my mind. You can only go so far doing that. Eventually, you do have to pay something. So we fought like an MMA fight in here, 4 times, 5 times with each other, trying to pare down the numbers. It wasn't a perfect storm. I mean, there's still a lot of questions and still a lot of issues that have arisen that we understand now that have come up, that none of us really had a handle on until we all started talking about it much more with each other. Did we need to? Probably not. We could have been informed, I think, much better, which might have helped all of us have a little more respectable conversation with each other as related to our department heads and everybody. But in reality, somewhere down the line, eventually you have to pay some taxes. We can't just live free. And it's scary. You know, there's a lot of cities all over this state, all over this country that are having to merge services and do all kinds of things to try to alleviate their costs. And you're just getting to a point where it's becoming very, very difficult to manipulate those numbers, as we saw, trying to get some kind of savings out of it for our residents. We tried very, very hard. Yeah, we did increase it. You also were part of the council for 6 years prior to that, just like everybody else.
I've been voting against the budget.
Okay, duly noted. But you can see it hasn't been an easy thing to get to.
John, we started at
So-
2 mil increase, and then if Maggie and I, quite frankly, weren't pushing this, it would have been rubber stamped, just like always.
It would not have
Yes,
been rubber
yes, it
stamped.
would have.
See,
And-
if you guys would talk to us,
Yeah,
which
and-
you refuse to do.
Oh, knock that off, John.
No, because it's the truth.
John, knock it off.
It's no.
So we started at
It's the truth.
1.4 mil
The
increase.
public needs to understand that there's people here that refuses to work with the other council members.
Within 2 hours, that 1.4 mil increase cut in half to 0.07 increase, or 0.7 increase. So how is it that in 2 hours we can find enough money to cut the millage, the tax increase in half? If we
I
would have
agree.
spent another 3 hours, which I suggested, but you know,
No,
people
it's
in here
not the
wanted
3
to.
hours before. We should have been spending 3 months before that to
You
be
can
able to
look back
identify
to justify
these
your
problems.
tax increase and voting for it all you
guys are
want.
agreeing here.
Ah, for God's
But
sakes.
the point is,
Can't even see the agreement. You guys are agreeing right there.
well,
We got blindsided. Nobody, not a one of us on this council knew that we were going to end up taking a bath like that. We kind of assumed that all the business part of it was being handled. That didn't happen. So we ended up being surprised by finding out that we've got to come up with some dough that we didn't have readily available without getting into fund balance. So there was some decisions to be made. This year, we're in front of the curve, so we can end up addressing what's going to be coming up come next year. That's how that gets handled.
whatever makes you sleep at night.
That's not for crying out loud. What a knucklehead.
Well, I would disagree with that. You're not going to pass the
Here's a
buck off.
surprise.
You're not going to pass the buck off to somebody. It's your responsibility to follow that budget, to go through it line by line, and if you don't understand it, if you don't have an agreement with it, then you don't vote for it. But to pass it off and blame somebody else because the budget wasn't prepared or wasn't the way you wanted it, I think that's disingenuous.
Okay, everybody's points are duly noted. We're moving on.
Okay.
Downtown.